What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Casual MMA Fan. In this episode, I'm gonna predict the UFC 249 fights, and finally we got the UFC 249 card. Considering the craziness going outside due to the coronavirus and stuff, and in this episode, I'm gonna predict not every single fight, but I have picked through a couple of fights that I think I might have a chance of predicting it right. Pardon me. And first fight, it's Francis Ngannou versus Rozenstruik. Speaking of Rozenstruik, if you would have asked me probably like 6 months back, I would have been like, Rozenstruik who? But now this guy, he earned the name. He defeated two legends back to back in the names of Andrei Arlovski and Alistair Overeem. Andrei Arlovski, he knocked him out in the first, probably I would say 20 seconds, I guess. He was moving in his back foot, threw a left, I believe, while he was moving back, and knocked him out cold. And the fight with Alistair Overeem, props to him because he took that fight probably within like a week and a half notice, I guess, because Walt Harris pulled the fight, and he fought him. Went to all the 5 rounds, and like almost close to the 5th round. Probably there was like 10 seconds left, I believe, and he knocked him out cold. That cut in Alistair Overeem's lips tells how strong this guy can punch, and he can punch at the very last minute. And considering he didn't have any time to prepare for the five round fight, he did a great job being a heavyweight, and nothing much to say about this guy. He's good. He's got a 9-0 record. I believe it's 9-0. No, it's 10-0 with 9 KOs and 1 decision. And he's got an amazing kickboxing record, which is 76-8 with 64 knockouts. Well, that's good for a heavyweight guy. And I think this round's not gonna go into the ground. They're gonna stand and bang, I would say. And speaking of Francis Ngannou, this guy should be fighting for the title by now, but considering DC and Stipe going for a trilogy fight, so he doesn't have to take this fight, but he wants to keep himself active, so he took this fight, considering it's a risk, but he wants to keep the momentum going. He fought Stipe Miocic back and lost the fight, went to all the 5 rounds. Back in the day, he didn't have a good mindset. He thought he was unstoppable. The ego got the better of him, and he didn't take the fight seriously, and I don't know, the cameras and stuff got into his head, I guess. And I think he underrated Stipe Miocic, to be honest, and Stipe proved him what a championship fight is. And from that fight, next fight, he fought Derek Lewis. It was the most boring fight we've ever seen. After that fight, he totally changed his character. He turned super humble. He focused so hard, and that showed the result. 3 back-to-back knockouts, everything first round. 3 legends, Cain Velasquez first round, Junior Dos Santos first round, and then Curtis Blades first round. Knocked him out cold and proved him that like he's no joke, and he's the baddest heavyweight on the planet right now. And considering his record, he's 14-3, 10 KOs and 4 submissions. None of the fight he won was a decision fight. He finishes the fight. His finish rate is 100%. And according to betting odds, I pulled out the Bet365 betting odds. It says Francis Ngannou is the favorite, -275, and Rozenstruik is +225 underdog. Considering Francis Ngannou's experience and his knockout power, I'm gonna go with Francis Ngannou because he's so hungry. And Rozenstruik, he's got nothing to lose. He's young and upcoming. He's only 31 years old. He's got nothing to lose, like I said. So I would say this fight probably won't even last a round. First 2 minutes or 1 minute, Francis Ngannou is gonna knock him out cold. That's my prediction. Francis Ngannou, first round KO. Alright, guys. Next fight, it's Uriah Hall versus Jacare Souza. Uriah Hall, he's got good caliber. He's highly talented, but super inconsistent. For a guy his potential, should have had a better record in UFC. Inside UFC, he's 8-7, and overall he's 15-9, and 15 losses. 15 wins and 9 losses out of his 24 fights. Out of the 15 wins, 11 of them are KOs, and then rest of them are like submission and decisions. And he was hyped up like really good because of his spinning back kick in the Ultimate Fighter season. I don't know which season it was, but yeah, he was known for a spinning back kick. He defeated Gegard Mousasi via spinning back kick to the body, and then TKO'd him. And from that on, he's kind of like on and off, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 2 loss, and now he's on a 2-fight winning streak. Last fight with Antonio Carlos Jr. was a split decision, I believe, and wasn't that impressive, but it was okay. It's good for him because he's like I said, he's got good potential, but couldn't use it in a right way. He's fighting the legend in Jacare Souza. Jacare Souza, his record is 26-8 out of the 26 fights. 8 of them are KOs and 14 are submissions. This guy's a submission artist. He's a black belt in 4th degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's got a black belt in Judo. If you take a look at his highlights, he's got a lot of takedowns, like via Judo. His Judo takedowns are like really good. Like the way he trips people, like slams them, are really really good. There are like tons of black belts in UFC in Jiu-Jitsu, but not every single person uses uses this like Jiu-Jitsu in the right way, like Souza does. Even for like a non-MMA fan, like I was watching Souza versus Kelvin Gastelum with my buddy, who has no idea about Jiu-Jitsu. He asked what's the cool stuff he did throughout. It's really impressive. Like even for people like that, you can see the difference. His ground game is like totally different. He uses his Jiu-Jitsu like in a good way. So I don't see Uriah Hall wanted to take the fight to the ground because it's not his turf. And speaking about his grappling career, like he's a phenomenal grappler. He's got 8 golds in World Jiu-Jitsu and 2 silvers, and then plus he's participated in lots of European championships, Pan American championships, and then I think he completed in ADCC. He's got 2 golds and 3 silvers in ADCC. He always competes in 88 kilogram category, and then he goes for the absolute division, which is like a open weight class. He's got 8 golds, probably like 4 in his own weight class, and the rest of them in absolute division, I believe. And like I said, he too, like he was the Strikeforce middleweight champion. He was defeated by Luke Rockhold. He fought all the good names in Strikeforce before coming to the UFC. Before UFC bought Strikeforce, he already fought Robbie Lawler back in the days when Lawler was in middleweight division. He fought Lawler. He fought Mousasi back in the days. And he also defeated Derek Brunson. Coming to the UFC, he had a good winning streak, like 4 or 5 winning streak, and then he fought Robert Whittaker in Perth, I guess, in Australia, and Whittaker knocked him out. And then after that, he had a 2-fight winning streak, and then a split decision loss, and then now he moved up the weight class and fought what is his name, the Polish power Jan Blachowicz, and then that was a split decision. Moving up to the weight class was a good move, but fighting a guy like Jan Blachowicz right away wasn't a good move. Prior to that, he lost to Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson is a good dude, so he's a young guy. So I don't know, this fight, it's gonna be a close fight. Surprisingly, Uriah Hall is the favorite in this fight, and Jacare Souza is the underdog. I would say put your money on Jacare Souza because he's got the knockout power. He's knocked out Chris Weidman in the 3rd round. That was his most recent win, I believe, versus Chris Weidman, and he's knocked out Derek Brunson via head kick. So do not sleep on his striking power. He's as good as Uriah Hall. So I'm gonna pick Jacare Souza, but it's gonna be a submission victory probably in the 2nd round. All right, next fight, it's Calvin Kattar versus Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens is a legend. He's been with the UFC forever. Look at his mixed martial arts record. He fought 46 professional fights, 28 wins and 17 losses, and then like he's been with the UFC forever. He fought in lightweight division, and then he moved down to featherweight. I think he's probably one of the hardest hitters in 45 division. He's fought everyone. Okay, let's take the names he fought in the UFC since he came in. He started 2007. First fight with Din Thomas, who's currently coach of Tyrone Woodley. He's fought Rafael Dos Anjos I think it was 145, I guess. He knocked him out. He fought Cowboy Cerrone. He's fought Anthony Perez. He's fought Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, Renato Moicano, pretty much like everyone in the featherweight division, A to Z. He's fought everyone. He's fought Jose Aldo, and he's fought all the newcomers, the washed out old dogs, everyone. One of the best gatekeepers of the UFC. Always gets the winning streak, gets like 3 fights in a row. One more fight to get to the title fight, boom, slides all the way back down. And then yeah, it's like a snake and ladder for this guy. He always goes to the top and then slides down. Consistency, he needs to work on his consistency and keeping up the momentum. Definitely one of the like the hardest hitter in 145. He's got the knockout power. He's got to be more precise because he's fighting Kelvin Kattar, one of the more precise and like sharpest striker in a featherweight division. He's so sharp. He's not fought like bigger names. He's fought Ricardo Lamas. He's a good striker himself and a grappler. He knocked him out in the first round, and he fought Zabit in the last fight was with Zabit in Russia. The decision was bullshit because it happened in Russia, so they had to give it to Zabit. Everybody thought Calvin won that fight. It was a close fight. I would if it was a split decision, I would have been happier, but it was a unanimous decision. He lost the fight. It was a fight of the night, and considering Zabit is one of the best strikers in 45, he did a good job. And this one's going to be a 3-round fight. Jeremy Stephens, I don't think he can knock Jeremy Stephens out. I would suggest you to put the money on Kelvin Kattar, but I'm going to put money on Jeremy Stephens because I love Jeremy Stephens. He's so entertaining. I would be happy to lose my money on Jeremy Stephens. If he wins, I would be even more happier. So, yeah, in this fight, Kelvin Kattar is the favorite, and my boy Jeremy Stephens is the underdog, plus 200 underdog, and Kelvin's minus 225 favorite. And yeah, I'm going to put my money on my boy Jeremy Stephens. Probably 3-round fight. Think it's going to be a war. Jeremy Stephens by split decision. That's my prediction for this fight. Okay, the next fight it's between Cowboy Cerrone and Anthony Pettis. This fight was recently included in the UFC 249 card, and it's going to be the main event of the prelims. Let's start off with Anthony Pettis, who is a former WEC and UFC lightweight champion. He won the WEC lightweight title against Benson Henderson. If you all remember the flying kick he did from the cage, that's how people knew Anthony Pettis. He's a black belt in Taekwondo and black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. He trains under Duke Rufus in Milwaukee gym, and he's a really talented guy. He's got his ups and downs. After getting the title he got this title back. I think he fought once again Benson Henderson in UFC, and he won the title, defended the title against Gilbert Melendez, and then he defended the title against Rafael dos Anjos, which he lost the fight. After that fight, he lost to Eddie Alvarez, followed by Edson Barbosa. So he decided to cut weight and move down to featherweight. He won that fight against Charles Oliveira, and then he was supposed to fight he fought Max Holloway for the interim featherweight championship, in which he missed weight, so he couldn't get the belt even if he won the fight. But he didn't win the fight. Max Holloway defeated him, and then he once again moved up to his own lightweight division, fought Jim Miller, won the fight, and then from then he once again lost the back-to-back fight, so he had to move up to welterweight, which was a surprise move. He didn't have to cut any weight. He fought Stephen Thompson, first fighter ever to knock out Wonderboy Thompson. Wonderboy has fought, I think he's fought 75 fights in kickboxing, and then plus I think 20 odd fights in UFC. He's never been knocked out, first ever to do so, and that was like a Superman punch out of nowhere. And I thought that was like probably like a breakout thing for Anthony Pettis, but then he's like kind of an up and down guy. He moved down to fight Nate Diaz. It was a good fight. It was a rough fight. He lost the fight to Nate Diaz, and after that this is going to be his next fight against Cowboy. Pettis, he's got good potential. He's got good striking. He's good at his ground games. He's got 11 KOs and 7 submissions, and is very entertaining fighter. This fight is going to be a super good entertaining fight. I'm so excited for this fight. Like, Pettis has got 2 fight of the night, 3 performance of the night, and 1 submission of the night, and 2 KO of the night. So lots of performance bonuses in his resume. he's fighting Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy Cerrone, he's kind of a fighter who can fight anywhere, anytime. Some people just say it, but they don't mean it. But Cowboy Cerrone, he fights this Saturday at somebody in one side of the world, and next week he could fight somebody in the next side of the world. Like, it doesn't matter. He shows up every time. He's been in the UFC forever. He's got most fights in the UFC, most finishes in UFC, and most wins in UFC. He's owning UFC right now. He's like the UFC's go-to guy. If UFC needs a fight, they would call Cowboy Cerrone, and he shows up. He's that kind of a guy. He's fought 51 fights in total, 36 wins and 14 losses, 10 KOs and 17 submissions. Cowboy's ground game is so underrated. People think he's mostly a knockout star, but early on his career, first I think 8 or 9 fights continuously, like back to back, he got submission victories. Not enough of them were KOs. And then later on, he improved his striking game. He's undefeated in his kickboxing game. He fought one boxing fight and he got knocked out, I guess. So that's about his boxing credentials. And he moved up to welterweight to fight Conor McGregor, which was his last fight. He got knocked out in less than 40 seconds. The problem with Cowboy Cerrone, when it comes to main event or a title fight, he couldn't handle the pressure. That's been his case in the so many years, like UFC fans may know. When it comes to main events, he won't show up. That's been his, I would say, his con right now. Like, he always loses up in the main events, but this time he has no pressure. He's got this fight was like included like in the last minute, probably like he got like 2 weeks to prepare, which is like Cowboy's best thing. He doesn't want time to prepare. If you ask him to show up, he shows up and fight. That's the kind of fight he wants to do. And he's fighting he's fighting a guy who's like same as him, which is Anthony Pettis. Both of them are entertaining. Cowboy's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu too, same as Anthony Pettis. And speaking of the performance bonuses, he's got 18 performance bonuses, closer to $1 million in just performance bonuses alone, which includes 6 fight of the night, 3 KO of the night, 2 submissions of the night, and 7 performance of the nights. So every time he shows up, the 50,000 is gonna go to him, and there's gonna be a fight for the performance of the night because Gaethje is there, Tony Ferguson is there, and I think Anthony Pettis has won prior, like in the first fight between him and Cowboy. So he's the favorite in this fight. Pettis is plus 138 and Pettis is minus 138 and Cowboy is plus 110 favorite in this fight. But I'm gonna pick Cowboy Cerrone because this is not like a main event fight. There is no pressure, and I don't know if Pettis got enough training for this fight because of the gyms have been closed. But Cowboy, he's got his own gym. It's called the BMF gym. He has his own ranch, and I think he's training every single day. So I think Cowboy's gonna show up, and both men are coming off the loss, so they wanna prove they're good enough. And both of them are at the career probably I would say at the end of their careers. They are not gonna get any title shots, I believe, in any near time. So they have to show up. So I'm gonna pick Cowboy Cerrone, probably a second round head kick KO. Alright guys, the next fight, it's between Henry Cejudo and Dominick Cruz. Speaking of Dominick Cruz, injuries have always been a part of Dominick Cruz's career. He's taken like lots of years off in between his title defenses. 2010, that's the first time when UFC and WEC like merged together. He defended the WEC bantamweight title, and then it evolved into UFC title. They merged it together, and then he defended the title against Uriah Faber, which was the rematch between him and Faber. Prior to that, he lost to Faber for the WEC featherweight title, and then he won the rematch. And then follow up, he fought Demetrious Johnson, who was back in the days he was fighting in the bantamweight division, and then he defeated Mighty Mouse Johnson. And then 2011, that was his last fight. Due to recurring injuries, he had to take some time off. Took 3 years off. I think he came back in 2014. He fought a fight, won the fight. Once again, had to take time off. 2016, I think it's 2016, he came back, won the title against TJ Dillashaw. It was a close fight. It was a splendid performance considering he took 3 years time off. And then the same year, 2016, he fought Uriah Faber for the third time, and then he won that match. So following to that fight, he fought next year, same year at the end of that. I think he fought Cody Garbrandt, and he lost that fight. And then from that time on, he's been out for, I would say, approximately like more than 3 years. Like I said, apart from this, if you take those injury time off, Dominick Cruz's career is phenomenal. I think he fought 24 fights, 22 wins and 2 losses. He's got 8 KOs, which came in the early part of his career. He's got one of the best footwork in the game. Anybody who wants if you can ask anybody in who loves martial arts and even boxes, they love Dominick Cruz's footwork. He's phenomenal in terms of footwork, and one of the best strikers in the bantamweight division. He's got 12 12 wins in bantamweight division, which is most by anybody in both UFC and WEC. He's gonna fight in champion Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo was a flyweight champion. He defended his flyweight title against the bantamweight TJ Dillashaw, and they knocked him out in the first round. Before speaking of Cejudo's mixed martial arts career, the guy is a 2008 Olympic wrestling gold medalist. He competed at 55 kilogram category, and he was the youngest American to win an Olympic gold. That's a phenomenal achievement. But as he was so young, he had to make a choice if he was going to continue wrestling or he want to change his career to mixed martial arts, and he changed it. He went on to become the state boxing champion. The next year he won the gold, and then he transitioned his career to mixed martial arts, and it's been phenomenal since he transitioned to it. He started off his career as a bantamweight contender, and then he moved down to flyweight. He fought Demetrious Johnson for the flyweight title, and then he got knocked out in that fight. Two back-to-back losses, Johnson and then Jose Benavidez. And then he changed his fighting style. He worked a lot, and then got 3 consecutive wins, and then including the one rematch between Demetrious Johnson, which he won by split decision. And then as TJ Dillashaw was relinquished from his title, he moved up a weight class and then fought one of the best bantamweight contenders right now, which is Marlon Moraes, and he knocked him out in the third round, proving that he's the best combat athlete at the moment. I don't think nobody's gonna debate on it. He's the best athlete. Even Khabib said he's the best combat athlete right now. So he's so cringy. He calls himself Triple C, asks everyone to bend his knee. Everything is good. He's at the prime of his career. His confidence level is is very much, and I really appreciate his the way he puts himself in the social media. He doesn't give a fuck. So in this fight, considering Dominick Cruz's absence, and then due to the situation going outside, I don't know how much of a training Cruz got to prepare himself for a contender like Henry Cejudo. Not that Cruz has never done it before. He's done it multiple times, taken long time off, and he came back and just resumed wherever he paused his career. This is nothing new to Dominick Cruz, but considering Henry Cejudo's career, the momentum he's carrying right now, considering his wrestling credentials, I'm gonna go with Henry Cejudo, who's the favorite in the fight, and I'm gonna think Cejudo's gonna win the fight probably in the 3rd or 4th round by TKO. So I'm gonna pick Henry Cejudo by, I would say, 3rd round TKO, same as he did to Marlon Moraes. Alright, this next fight, it was supposed to be Tony Ferguson versus Khabib. It was scheduled for the 5th time and got cancelled. Am I worried? Nope, I'm not. Why? Because it's been replaced by Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje. It got even crazier. Okay, let me put this way. Let's say, this is for guys. Let's say a girl who's 10 out of 10. You asked her on a date for the first time, got cancelled. Second time, cancelled. 3, 4, got cancelled. And then you got her on the 5th time, and then got cancelled. But now this time, a girl who's 9 out of 10, she's open for a date, and she said okay. And would I be sad? Fuck no. I'll take her out. So yeah, I'm gonna take that this fight as that way. I'm so excited to see Justin Gaethje fight Tony Ferguson. I wish Gaethje had much more time to prepare for this fight. It's Justin Gaethje. He doesn't give a fuck. He takes whatever fight he wants. Speaking of Justin Gaethje, he's a Division 1 wrestler. Until 17 years old, he did all pure wrestling, and then after 18, he learned kickboxing. He fell in love at first sight, and after that, he never used his wrestling in his whole mixed martial arts career. He refuses to take the guys down. He doesn't want to do it that way. He likes to kick your leg. He breaks his opponent's legs. That's his style. He stands right in front of you, keeps his hand like this, he moves forward, takes the damage in his face right away. He has the most punches absorbed for a fighter per minute in the UFC. That's the worst record to have, but one of the best entertainers in the world, people's champion for sure. And speaking of his record, he's got 21 wins and 2 losses before coming to the UFC. Right away, starting from his amateur all the way up to his pro MMA, he had no defeats, like 0 defeats, undefeated. First fight with Michael Johnson. I was surprised because I didn't know who Gaethje was, and they threw him right away to Michael Johnson. I thought, like, damn, they're throwing him into a wolf in Michael Johnson, and then he knocked out Michael Johnson, fight of the year. And I thought I right away knew this guy is good for UFC. He's ready for UFC. But he had a bump right away, like a speed bump, in the names of Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, and then people started doubting: he's ready, but is he UFC ready? And he's got one of the best coaches in the game, Coach Trevor Whitman. He corrected his game. The only thing they had to worry about is like the punches he takes. He's got to just move some head movement, just move a little, cut angle, give some head movements. Just don't stay in front of your opponent. Just keep moving. And but he refuses to fight that way. But he corrected that mistake, which paid the price. 3 first-round knocked out. First one it's James Wick, and then followed by Edson Barbosa, and then third one was Cowboy Cerrone. And he's ready. He's ready to fight Tony Ferguson. And speaking of Tony Ferguson, this guy is he's like inhuman. He's totally insane. He doesn't train like the way the other fighters train. He always has his own way of training. He trains 6 hours straight without gassing out. He's got a black belt under Eddie Bravo, one of the best grapplers, NCAA Division 1 wrestler, and he's got good striking power. 12 fight winning streak going out to 13 fight. He's got 12 fight winning streak. Let me see if I can get a picture of the faces of the guys, the last 12 opponents. It's a funny picture. You gotta see everybody's face busted. In his MMA career, I think it's like 3 or 4 fights where he won those 4 fights by doctor stoppage. So he just like breaks his opponent's faces, and the doctor comes in between the rounds and stops the fight. And between these guys, let's start with Tony Ferguson. He's got 5 fight of the night, 3 performance of the night, and 1 submission of the night. Justin Gaethje, 6 fights in the UFC, 3 fight of the night, and 3 performance of the night. So any fighter in that UFC card, if you're dreaming about getting the performance of the night or fight of the night, forget about it. You aren't going to make one, because this fight is going to be the fight of the year. And if it was a full fight camp, and if Justin Gaethje is fighting Tony with a full fight camp for a 5-round fight, I would have given Gaethje the props. But considering Tony has been preparing for Khabib, so he had to bring on his A game. So he's working so hard. He's super ready. Since he had a good 3 or 4 month camp, and then Justin Gaethje had like a 2-3 week notice, I'm gonna go with Tony Ferguson. It's gonna be blood everywhere in the cage, that's for sure. In terms of prediction wise, I'm gonna say 3rd or 4th round doctor stoppage, TKO, Tony Ferguson. I'm so excited to see this fight, so I'm gonna go with Tony Ferguson. He's the favorite in this fight, and Gaethje is the underdog. So Tony Ferguson, 3rd or 4th round doctor stoppage. Alright guys, we have come to our end of our episode. Make sure you leave your predictions in my comment section so I can see whatever the changes we have in our, like, in terms of like opinion wise. I hope you guys like my video. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe, and like and share my YouTube video. This is Gavin signing off. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.